Go, Mark.
Welcome in week one in the NFL, and I am absolutely thrilled and excited to be running it back for the 2024 NFL season. Your Philadelphia Eagles season with Eagles Hall of Famer, Mr. Seth Joyner, and veteran Eagles reporter. You know him, you love him, Derrick Gunn. And I know the Eagles have a lot to make up for when you think about last year, but they can't be thinking about that right now. They just have to be thinking about going out there in a 2024 season, albeit in Brazil, and get things started off on the right foot. I know I've had this question asked of me a lot. I'm sure you guys have had this question asked of you also. But when you think about the Philadelphia Eagles starting in this stadium, Corinthians Stadium in Brazil, why are they starting the season in Brazil, Seth Joyner?
Well, listen, anywhere that the NFL feels like it can make money and grow the brand, trust me, they're going to go there. And I get it. Someone asked me the other day, they were talking about South America and Europe, the fact that those countries are pretty much, soccer countries. Yes, I agree. But if they can get on TV and they can fill up the stands at this stadium in Brazil, then guess what? They're going to get some people who haven't been exposed to the NFL to fall in love with the NFL. And if they can go down there and sell seats and sell hats and sell jerseys and sell T-shirts, D-Gun, guess what? They feel like that they've gained another market, and that's more money in their pockets.
Gunnar, did you know we're on the show here today with Mr. International? I didn't realize that.
Mr. International. Look, I know he's a globetrotter. I know that much.
Listen, as a player, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is something I enjoyed.
Okay.
Because you asked me earlier.
Yeah.
That I play internationally. I played twice in London and once in Japan. No, I did not enjoy going over there for a preseason game to suit up for 2 or 3 series and then getting off the field. So I can't say that I necessarily endorse the fact that the NFL is taking this on. I'm just telling you why they're taking it on.
Now, Gunnar, you and I have talked about this before. You want to finish on that point? Go ahead.
Yeah, the NFL has become such an outstanding exploratory league in terms of expanding their horizon. I mean, you can go back to when they were adamantly against gambling. Okay, all of a sudden they embraced that and put a team in Las Vegas. They've been going to London for years. Now they're going to Germany as well. When I saw they were going to Brazil, the first thing I said was, why would you send teams to one of the most dangerous countries on the planet? And where green is considered game colors as well. Now I understand, you're trying to broaden your horizon because they keep talking about if they expand the league and add more teams, they may add more teams over to Europe. Not the United States, but over to Europe. So I get it. I don't see Brazil being as one of the future destinations of an NFL team, but you want to make sure everybody gets a taste of your brand because this is a product that is globally watched, even by just the novice fans. You look at the countries now that are watching the NFL, and they continue. There's no bigger cash cow on a sports planet than the NFL. They do a tremendous job of marketing and taking advantage of everything that's available. Streaming now is huge for the NFL. Now, do I agree with them sending the Eagles and the Green Bay Packers to Brazil? No, but that's out of my control. And 9-hour flights to boot as well? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I can remember Doug Peterson saying something to Bill Belichick before they face off in the Super Bowl, and it's something that has lived rent-free in my head from Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
There's a game in here somewhere. When you go to the Super Bowl, there's so much hoopla, there's so much pomp and circumstance, there's so much all going on at one time that you have to find the football game. So, Seth, with that in mind, when you think about how many times you played overseas, which is a total of 3, as a player, how do you stay focused when at the same time, like it or not, you're being asked to be an ambassador to the NFL?
Because, at the end of the day, your check that you cash on every Tuesday is based on what you do on the field. So, you've heard a lot of the players talk about, hey, this is a business trip. We're going over here to take care of business, so on and so forth. That has to be your mindset. And it's different. I don't know what it is to actually play a regular season game overseas.
Yeah.
I just understand what it is to do it, on a preseason level. But at the end of the day, this is week 1 of the NFL football season. You've been chomping at the bit They haven't played a game since January 15th, 2024. So the players have got to be excited about week one, and their focus has got to be, you've been working towards this all season long. So all off season long, I should say. So if that's been your focus, and this is what, your livelihood is, there shouldn't be any question. And like the old guys used to say, it's all fun and game if somebody hits you in the mouth. You cannot be focused if you want to. When that first kickoff happens and that first series happens for the defensive and the offensive side of the ball, and you realize that it's alive and those guys over there are trying to steal what you want, now all of a sudden there's a whole different perspective to how you're facing this game and what you do.
Derrick Gunn, you are so tapped in with this Eagles locker room. What are you hearing from these players about this business trip down to Brazil to get the 2024 season started off?
This team wants to establish a new identity in 2024. They were a wounded animal at the conclusion of the 2023 season. They were embarrassed. It was a discombobulated team. There are a lot of players playing as individualists and not as a collective unit, and it showed in 6 of the last 7 games of this football season. So what did they do out? They go out and try to change some of the culture. They bring in 2 new coordinators. They bring in some new players. I was a little bit shocked when they decided to let Haason Reddick go. Now, was Haason Reddick part of the problem? Can't say yes or no, but he's not here. During the offseason, when there was rumors about Haason Reddick not going to the Jets unless he got a contract extension, I asked a couple of people, would you go out and bring Haason Reddick back to the Philadelphia Eagles? It was emphatically no. So obviously he had wore out his welcome here. Now they bring in a Bryce Huff. They feel they got a better dollar value for Bryce Huff than they did with Haason Reddick. Now you say, how's that possible when you consider you paid a guy $51 million and he only played 47% of the snaps a season ago? Well, you can't measure everything by terms of sacks, okay? There's certain attributes that this young man brings to the table that maybe Haason did not, in terms of locker room culture, being able to fit in, being able to be a mentor in that locker room. We're going to see how it all plays itself out. But this is a team that was wounded, and they want to make sure they get off on a good foot tonight to let everybody know that the Philadelphia Eagles that should have been in 23 are back in 24.
See, this is a situation where I got to chime in, D. Gunn, because listen, when a player is jettisoned, after the fact, everybody's got a reason why. And everyone's, the messaging, the way the messaging goes out, it's like all of those people that said no, where were those people last year when things were going sideways? How come nobody was talking about that, last year? Now all of a sudden he's gone, and the question you broach is, would you bring him back?
Yeah.
And people are saying no. Yeah. Well, how come that conversation didn't happen then? And I will say this, okay? I don't care about the upside of a Bryce Huff, okay? Bryce Huff has not proven to me that he can replace the 27 sacks that Haason Reddick gave us, over the last 2 years. So now, do you want potential? Yeah, you paid him a boatload of money. So do you want to pay up for potential? He gave you 11 sacks with the Jets last year, and that number is 40%. He only played 40% of the plays for the New York Jets last year, okay? Haason Reddick played, even with a broken hand, he gave you 70 to 75% of the plays last year. Is he going to be able to replace that? Is he going to be able to replace those 27 sacks? I think that at the end of the day, the Eagles are going to rule this decision to not bring Haason Reddick back. It would have only taken. Listen, I've heard all the reports. Oh, he wanted $28 million. Oh, he wanted $30 million. Oh, he wanted $25. I don't know. He's right here at home. I know that. I can't speak for him. I can't speak for the people that are close to him. But I said all along, bump the guy up to $20 million, okay? I think that they could have got the job done for the extra $5 or $6 million. You asked him to play for $14 million this year, and all the top players at his position, where does he rank? So low down, it doesn't make sense, okay? So you mean to tell me you couldn't make the guy happy with an extra $5, $6, $7 million to keep him here? I think it's a mistake. He has been your best defender for the last 2 years, and you just jettison him away and think that production is going to come from 2 guys who haven't proven it? I think it's going to be a problem.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because you have a valid point. 4 consecutive years, double-digit sacks, 3 different teams, okay? He's one of the elite sackers in the NFL. He's not efficient when it comes to defending the rush. But nowadays, what's everybody looking for in the NFL?
I thought he was a pretty good runner.
I'd say he's decent. I wouldn't say he was okay.
I think he's pretty good.
So what is every defense in the league looking for? That next level pass rusher, right? He was that next level pass rusher. And everything you said is right. You look at the money they gave to Huff, they could have kept him for that kind of money, okay? And then some. Get front-loaded contract. Why didn't they keep him? So it had to run deeper than that. There had to be something with the locker room culture they didn't like about it. Now, you bring in a whole new coaching staff. You bring in a Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio could have said, hey, I want this dude on my defense. Hey, we're not here. Nick Sirianni could have pleaded to the front up. I want him back. Look what he did for us the last couple. Hey, he's not back. So you have to dig a little bit deeper. Why is he not here?
Those Temple guys could be prima donnas, right, fellas? You know what I mean?
I just want to know where were those conversations, when he was giving us 27 sacks, over the last 2 years. Where were those conversations? There was certainly an opportunity, last offseason or last year when the Eagles were collapsing at the end of the season for some of that stuff to come to the forefront. Yet we didn't hear any of that until they jettisoned them away. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think the issue was, okay? And we were sitting together doing pre- and post games last year when I said this, okay? When Matt Patricia took over as the defensive coordinator, that defense had to be split, okay? So you had some guys that felt like Sean Desai needed to be set aside, and you had some guys that was like, I don't know if Matt Patricia's going, he doesn't understand this defense like Sean Desai. So the first game that Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator, they dropped Haason Reddick 7 times in the coverage, okay? So he gets in the locker room, at post game. They ask him, what do you think about, the fact that they had you dropping? He was like, we got to get pressure on the quarterback. I don't understand why they got me dropping. But, hey, listen, if the people upstairs want me to rush the passer, the key words being the people upstairs. Now he indicated to everybody else that guess what? That decision wasn't necessarily made by Nick Sirianni.
No.
That decision was made by somebody else.
Yes.
Okay? The next week, they dropped him the first 10 plays of the damn game. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I said, that guy ain't coming back. Because what did he do? He violated some things as far as the people upstairs were concerned, and they made a decision at that moment that they weren't going to pay him another penny. If he didn't play for $14 million, he wasn't going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. And in my opinion, that's where all that came from. It had nothing to do with him being a cancer in the locker room and him not being a team guy. Whatever it was, it had everything to do with that comment that he made.
The higher-ups in the locker room have to make the decision. I remember that quote exactly.
I'm not going to say he was a cancer in the locker room, but in all the years I've covered this team, I will say this. The Eagles take pride in their so-called locker room culture, their camaraderie, and I've seen time and time again throughout the last 20-plus years, if a player steps outside of that culture, all of a sudden he's not here anymore. They'll make an example of him, okay? Now, you don't have to be a cancer in the locker room. You could be difficult.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You could be difficult.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's difficult for me to work with Seth, but we're here, okay?
And listen, I know we got to move on, so I'm not going to belabor it. My only question is, where were these concerns last year? Where were these concerns over the last?
But you don't want to be that guy in the locker room. What's that unwritten rule? You don't want to be that guy in the locker room that stirs the pot the wrong way. You know what I mean? There are certain things that you just, even though you're frustrated, even though you know what's going on, when you get close to certain people, they tell you little stories that they don't want you to repeat. But you don't want to be the first guy, especially in a market like Philadelphia, to spill the beans because then it comes back on you.
Certainly. You don't like snitches in that locker room either.
What did they say? Snitches get stitches?
They get stitches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll continue to break down this Philadelphia Eagles season opener from Brazil. While the Birds are in Brazil, we're at PARX Casino in Ben Salem. Make sure you guys get down here for an incredible atmosphere. They have over 3,200 slots for you to play, 124 live table games, 48 poker tables in a private room for you. When we come back, we'll examine this question. Is there more pressure on this Eagles season opener than any other in Eagles history? We'll explore when we come back.
When you open the betPARX app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. betPARX.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
This is Seth Joyner, top analyst for the Birds. I've also analyzed the best auto dealerships, and I drive a Davis Honda.
Get to Davis Honda now and fall into savings. Lease a new 2024 Prologue EV for just $299 per month. See why Davis Honda continues to win outstanding awards for sales and service, including the highest award from Honda, the President's Award, 2 years in a row. Fall into savings right now at Davis Honda. Feel the Davis difference at Davis Honda in Burlington.
I'm Seth Joyner, and I drive a Davis Honda.
I'm back in my bag, I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn with you from Parx Casino in Ben Salem, presented by Pond Lehocky. Having a great time already, fellas, before we get this season started off. But I have to ask this question because I was thinking about this on the way in here today. I can't think of a time in Philadelphia Eagles history where there was more pressure on a Week 1 game for a multitude of reasons. I mean, take away the fact that you're being asked to be an ambassador to the world for the game, right? You're going to Brazil to do that. You're going through all this travel. But you also have a head coach that many people thought should be fired at the end of last year for the historic collapse with the Eagles only winning 5 of 6 games to end the year, going from the number 1 seed, a 10-1 team, to all of a sudden pushing him aside further, demoting him of responsibility even more so, and bringing in those 2 new coordinators. Not to mention a lot of Eagles fans already applying to what they know about the Philadelphia Phillies this year and a historic collapse there potentially before they turned it around. Philadelphia Eagles fans looking at what happened last year with the Eagles and saying, even if they get out to another great start, it's still going to be lingering the way they ended the season. Do you see more pressure on the Eagles Week 1 more than ever, Seth Joyner? Let me add this to it. 10 days to dissect whatever happens tonight in Brazil. 10 days to overanalyze before the Eagles get a second chance to impress us.
Well, this is Philadelphia. That's going to happen anyway. I don't think the pressure's there because it's too many games for them to catch up, even if they lose tonight, which I don't really see them, doing. There's only pressure. Pressure is something that you put on yourself. If you go out and you do what you got to do, you don't worry about pressure. The media's going to say what it's going to say. If they go out and they play well, we're still going to have something to critique them about tomorrow. If they go out and they play poorly, we're definitely going to have some things to critique and talk about tomorrow. So either way, what's the pressure? The pressure is, you're in the game doing what you do, trying to do it at the best level that you can, D-Gun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think there's any extraneous pressure on them for Week 1 in the NFL season. You go back to the game last night between Baltimore and Kansas City. Great game, great finish, decided by a toe. And after the game, Patrick Mahomes says, we expect to see them again in the playoffs, okay? Whoever loses this game in the NFC, these are still 2 teams that are considered playoff contenders. So you have 16 more games to rebound from this. And if you look at the divisions that both of these teams play in the NFC East, other than the Eagles, everybody else is suspect. You worried about Dallas? A revamped Dallas team? No. Washington's rebuilding. They've added like 20-something new players plus a rookie quarterback. The Giants are a mess, hot mess. You go to the NFC North. Minnesota's down. They have a rookie quarterback, and lost their rookie quarterback from the draft. Chicago's rebuilding. Now, Detroit is legit, but Green Bay split with them last year. So, one game does not a season make. Now, if anything, the pressure lies within the Eagles coming out and proving people wrong about the way they finished. All summer long when I would talk to people, more so than I can remember in recent years, a lot of people on the fence about what they expect from this Eagles team in 2024, and rightfully so. They're a lot younger on defense. The offense is intact, but they didn't play the regulars in the preseason. So we don't know what we're going to see from this team. And as we know, the first game of a season always entails a little sloppiness.
Sure, certainly. So when you look at this team, what do you think are the realistic expectations when you consider that they've brought in new coordinators again? Nick Sirianni, I used the term already in terms of demotion of responsibility. He's basically a guy that's supposed to be the CEO head coach, but I think even that is too much of a compliment to the responsibility he has within the NovaCare complex. You have an offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, 5 years of experience, has had a number-1 offense. He is, by Nick Sirianni's own words, in charge of the offense. Vic Fangio's not a coordinator in the league 20 years, just to be told what to do. He is here to run the defense and be in charge. So, with the new coordinators here, what are the realistic expectations, Seth, when it comes to this 2024 season?
Well, listen, it wouldn't surprise me to see them get off to a slow start because you've got two new coordinators, I should say, and 2 new systems. So I don't care how much players practice. The game and practice is 2 different things, So the speed of the game is going to be different. The Eagles don't like to play their players in the preseason, which I don't agree with, because that's the time you get acclimated to how much faster the game really is than practice is, and it's that natural step up from OTAs to training camp to preseason games. Boom! Now you're in the regular season, and you know that the intensity level is going to jump another 15, 20, 25% in the regular season games. So it's trying to get acclimated. How quickly can they decipher what it is that Kellen Moore wants them to do, and how quickly can they master it? How quickly can Jalen Hurts master it? How quickly can the defense pick up and disseminate what it is that Vic Fangio wants them to do and all the complexities of it? Because, listen, he's not going to sit back. Somebody lied about, his defensive system. Yeah. All he did in the preseason was blitzed, Linebackers, slot corners, people were coming from everywhere. So that's a fallacy. Guys have got to pick all of that up. And when you start motioning people, how you make those adjustments. Line stunts. Disguises and coverages and how all of that, the communication piece of it, all of these things, play a vital role in how quickly this team can get caught up and how quickly they can master all of this so they can take off and just, stop thinking and let their bodies naturally do what they've been trained to do for so long.
I've watched a lot of bits and pieces of preseason games this summer, and I was shocked by the number of teams that played their frontline players, especially offensively, at least for a first series or a first quarter. So even the 2-time defending Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid played his guys for a couple of games in the preseason. Green Bay Packers played their starters in the preseason. Offensively, Eagles did not. How long will it take them to get that rust off, and as Seth said, to adapt to exactly what Kellen Moore wants to do? We know in his offense, the passing game is to get the ball out of your hands quickly, short passing game, and then try to set up the deep shot. Yeah. They want to run the football to get a defense off balance. Well, you got Quadzilla back there running the football for you, okay? So, and he can also catch the ball out of the backfield.
Right.
I expect it to be a little bit rusty offensively, but here's the positive of this. The offensive personnel is intact from a season ago, except the running back and the center. You've got a young man, Cam Jurgens, who's got to replace one heck of a center in Jason Kelsey. The running back, I think, is improved with Saquon Barkley back there, and you added Jahan Dotson as well as your slot receiver. I think the defense is going to struggle early on, but if it does what Vic Fangio wants it to do, it will be a much better defense in the last half of the season.
Here's where I'm at. You talk about the rust. I long for the rust. Okay. I want the rust to get there because that means that they have been playing together for a long time. They kick off the rust, they find that rhythm again. What I'm looking for to start out this season is the metal. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Before there's rust, there's got to be metal. And when I'm looking at this team with Cam Jurgens and Jalen Hurts, that is my number 1 concern going into this season. You have Jalen Hurts, who has the most experienced offensive coordinator that he has ever had in his career, calling the shots for him, calling the plays, and being in charge of the offense. The only thing that I look at that could be a legit not excuse, but let's see how that works out, is he's got a guy that is helping him shift protection, diagnose what's in front of them. That's never done it before at the NFL level in Cam Jurgens. So I'm just looking for those two to find that rhythm. How much of a concern, again, I'll ask you first, how much of a concern is it when it comes to not having that communication in a game yet with your brand new center who only, as you referred to earlier, only taking over for a Hall of Famer and fan favorite in Jason Kelce? It's
going to take some time, and they're going to have to get on a meeting of the minds. And as Jalen had talked about in training camp, now more is expected of him in terms of making the calls once he stepped to the line of scrimmage. Jason Kelce took care of that for him. Now, we heard Jason say on his podcast recently that Jalen can do it. Yeah, he can do it, but when you're playing against defenses, then they step to the line of scrimmage and they start playing stunt games with you, and you think it's one thing, you start seeing ghosts. How long will it take him to be able to decipher that quickly enough for the play for them to be a positive more so than a negative? Because he didn't have to do it a season ago because he had what I refer to as, Linus had his blanket, the peanut game. Jalen's blanket was Jason Kelce.
Yes. Very nice. Seth, how big a deal is that communication between center and quarterback?
I like, and listen, don't get me wrong. I tried to tell people when this story came out that Jalen wasn't disrespecting Jason Kelce, nor was he disrespecting the Philadelphia Eagles, nor was he trying to make an excuse for, his play last year. What he was talking about was evident. Now, in order for a quarterback to be great, he has to understand the whole picture, okay? He has to understand it all. He's got to be able to step to the line of scrimmage because, listen, the center has got his hand is down the three-point stance with the ball in his hand. He can look up and see what's in front of him, but he can't see what's in the secondary. He can't see what the linebackers are doing. Yeah. The quarterback is the only one who can control that and get you in and out of plays that you need to get in and out of, okay? Great. Kelce did it a long time. He is, first ballot Hall of Famer, Eagles legend. Okay, but at the end of the day, we all move on in this game. We can't keep living on the fact that Jason Kelce's gone. Listen, Cam Jurgens played right next to Jason Kelce all last year. So there was some learning. Yeah. There was some experience that went on last year. That's the first thing. The second thing is Cam Jurgens brings some things to the table that Jason Kelce doesn't, and Jason Kelce brought some things to Cam Jurgens. Like, you're not going to see Cam Jurgens pull and get out, in space. That's just not who he is. He may do it every once in a while, but Jason was very efficient at that. He was like second to none at that. At the other end of the spectrum, Cam Jurgens is going to blow some people off the ball. Jason Kelce wasn't blowing nobody off the ball. He might have been getting blown up himself, but he wasn't blowing nobody off the ball at one-on-one by himself. You're not going to have to worry about a five-man front having a nose guard on your center's head and trying to figure out how you can protect him. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to be fine. If Jason feels like, Jalen can do it, then I believe Jalen can do it. Jalen wants to do it. He wants to grow and wants to be the complete quarterback. That was the genesis of the question that he answered. Now, Cam and him got to get on the same page, and they got to work together. I think it should always be that way. But I also believe that the quarterback, every elite quarterback, every great quarterback that I've ever known, they controlled everything.
Here's how I equate what we're discussing right now when we talk about Cam Jurgens. If I'm going to learn how to fix an engine on a car, I can't stand off to the side and do it. You can tell me all day, but unless I get in there and get hands-on and get my hands dirty and find out, okay, when I make a mistake, this is what I do, that's the only way I'm going to learn. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Cam. Now, Seth talked about how he played right next to Jason. True. A lot of valuable information was learned because in his mind, Cam knows, hey, this man's going to eventually leave, and I got to slide over. But now I've got to do it. I don't have Jason here anymore to take the test for me. You know what I mean? I've got to pass these tests every week, and it's going to take time. But Seth is right. He's a bigger body. He's going to move some people off the ball. And once they get it flowing, it's going to be nice.
All right,
real
now
nice.
We're going to talk about this defensive side of things. We touched on Vic Fangio a little bit earlier, but all of a sudden we got some questions we got to discuss on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to the linebacker position and also the cornerback position. And I'm sorry, I don't want to say corner with Vic Fangio being the defensive coordinator. Nickel as well. We got to make sure we differentiate. We'll be back in a few right here at betPARX Casino in Bensalem with the pregame show. Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, brought to you by Lehocky.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed. Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
You should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano. We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
The Excite Center at Parx Casino, the region's hottest live entertainment venue. Check out your favorite concerts, comedy, boxing, MMA, all at the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. Don't miss Funny Man JB Smoove on Saturday, September 14th, plus Straight No Chaser on Friday, October 18th. Don't miss these two exciting headliners, only at the Excite Center inside Parx Casino. Parx Casino, this is how you win. This is how you win. Tickets on sale now.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
Welcome back to Parx Casino in Bensalem for the pregame show with Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn. We're right here in Bensalem at Parx Casino, brought to you by Pond Lehocky. There was a little bit of a news bomb drop the other day, ladies and gentlemen, when it came to Devin White, who a lot of people assume would be the starting middle linebacker for this Vic Fangio defense. Not the guy, and that kind of came out right around the same time it was revealed he's dealing with an ankle injury, and all of a sudden the almost forgotten by a lot of people Nakobe Dean seems to be taking over that Mike responsibility. Now on the outside we can discuss who you guys like to see out there, but what do you guys think about Nakobe Dean now, not just the starter tonight, but apparently the #1 linebacker for this Eagles unit?
I don't know, man. D-Gun,
I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all.
Something real fishy's going on. And now, and First, he's ruled out because he's got an ankle injury.
Yeah. Yep.
And then all the information starts to flow that Nakobe Dean actually beat Devin White out in training camp. But Devin White took all the first team reps, all training camp long. Okay? Something fishy going on, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, D.
I will tell you this. From what I've heard is there were discussions, or I should say there was speculations that the Eagles were even trying to trade Devin White, okay? Don't know if they talked into any teams. I know they dangled the bait out there. Hey, anybody interested in him? And there were no takers. So what does that tell you in terms of what we thought Devin White was? We all thought he was going to return back to the guy of 2022, not the guy that Tampa Bay benched in 2023. Mm-hmm. He couldn't even get out of training camp with a starting job here.
Well, here's my concern.
Wait a minute, Mark.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, here we go, okay? The narratives begin to formulate after the damage is already done.
Yep.
Where was that talk when he was running with the first team all training camp? You know, now all of a sudden it seems to me like the Eagles have this propensity to really paint a different picture after the fact on these things. If he was really killing it like that, shouldn't we heard about it, you know, after the second preseason game? Devin White wasn't even playing, but they was pushing Nakobe Dean out there. Yeah. So if you're trying to save your starters, see, man, something don't add up, man.
Well,
something don't add up, D-Gun. I'm sorry.
I'm just telling you what I heard. Stop trying to discredit my information.
I'm not trying to discredit anything. I'm just
telling you what I heard.
Everything I do is based on truth. I'm just trying to figure out the truth. Somebody lying.
And everything that I do is based on what I'm told.
There's a difference between what you told and what the truth is.
What's true?
Okay?
But that's pro sports, though.
Somebody lying, Mark.
Fair enough. But when you look at it like this, Devin White kind of set a high bar for himself.
Yeah.
He came into town talking about how he was on this text message chain that he started with two of the bigger players on this team, and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And remember, he texted them a picture of a glass. And he said, let's pour into it. Let's pour into it every day. I was like, dude, you're on the second team now, all of a sudden out of nowhere. So where was that hype for him? If he's trying to take on more of a leadership role with this team, and even in his introductory press conference talked about how he wants to push Nakobe Dean, well, apparently he pushed Nakobe Dean right by him on the depth chart.
All I know is.
Oh, here we go.
What he's told.
He's like, all I know. Don't point the finger at me. All I know.
Don't shoot the messenger.
All right, you know what? I'm going to keep my information to myself and just tweet it out on my own sites. How about that?
Next question I ask you, just say, I'm not even going to tell you.
All I know is as we sit here tonight, who's starting?
That'd be Nakobe Dean.
Who didn't make the trip?
That would be Devin White.
Why?
Oh, an ankle injury, obviously.
He hurt his ankle.
He hurt his ankle?
Yeah.
Now, hold up. There are other injured players who made the trip. Why did he not make the trip?
They was worrying about it swelling up on a 10-hour
Come on, man. Stop. Stop. Come
They
on,
didn't want jet lag to impact the trade potentially there. But all right, so who do you have on the outside with him now? If Nakobe Dean is going to be playing on the inside, who do you guys have on the outside? Who would you prefer?
Well, listen.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin.
Well, you know Josh Sweat's going to man one side. I think that, the thought is that Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff would split time, but I don't see D-Gun how you can spend the kind of money you spend on Bryce Huff and think that, he's going to split time. But at the other end of the spectrum, I don't see how you can draft a guy with the 32nd pick in the first round and not figure out a way to get him on the field.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I'm at a quandary. This is exactly the reason why I said, that it was not a good idea for the Eagles to let Haason Reddick go. Because you got Bryce Huff, who you're probably going to be limited how much you can play him.
Right.
Can't play him every single down. Okay, and then you got Nolan Smith, who last year it was a shoulder. He didn't know when it was going to work and when it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And he talks all the right talks. He says all the right things. But it seems to me that nobody's been overly impressed with what he's done on the football field throughout preseason. He's had a lot of plays to play and prove that he's ready to step up.
When it comes to a Nakobe Dean, and I've said this time and time again, I think he's better suited on the outside more so than the inside. I think his body structure is better suited to attack from the outside, use his speed from the outside.
You said Nakobe Dean?
Yeah. You don't think so? You rather have Nakobe in the middle?
As an edge rusher?
Not stand up outside, yes. I'd rather have him outside. I don't think his body type can absorb the type of punishment you take on the inside from the guards, from the center, so on and so forth, the constant banging. I think he maneuvers better from the outside. You need a bigger body in there. What is he, like 220? 225 at the most? I don't want to see him going down again like he did. And I'm not, I love his game when he was coming out of college. And I'm sorry he lost significant playing time last year. But as I watched him play, I didn't see him shedding blocks like I want to see the inside people shed blocks when you're trying to defend against the run.
He didn't do that at Georgia.
Okay. Well, they're asking him to do it here against basically 18-wheelers coming at you.
Okay, I don't want to cut your time off.
No, go ahead.
But let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Nakobe Dean, my problem with Nakobe Dean is he's too small.
That's what I'm saying.
I can remember the first time that I seen him in person, I was like, man, he's a little dude.
Yes.
So if he's 220, 225 max, okay, and you're playing on the inside, well, if they're in the five-man front, well, guess what? You can kind of get away with hiding him in the five-man front because you can cover everybody up and let him flow to the ball and make plays.
Sure.
But in the four-man front, that requires him to come downhill and take on some guys that he's given away 100 pounds to.
Yep.
And some of his lower leg injuries that he's had his first 2 years, to me, that's a result. So if I come down and I'm trying to take on a guy that's 100 pounds more than me, that means that I got to anchor and use my legs, all the stress on his lower legs. All his injuries have been lower leg injuries. And D-Gun, he's not an edge player, man.
Yeah, but how do you
got to be able to rush the passer as an edge rusher.
How do you protect and preserve him for longevity? You not by putting him in the middle. What do? You let him maneuver from the outside.
Listen,
keep him in the middle.
If I'm an offensive coordinator, you put him on the end. Okay. Now they're going to move him to the weak side, so they're going to play strong side, weak side. Okay. So I go 12 personnel.
Okay.
with 2 tight ends over here, one on, one off, okay? I'm going to motion one across, okay? Put him up on the line, take the X off outside, then take the Y off the other tight end and motion him across and toss it and wear his behind out with 2 250-pound tight ends running right at him.
If you keep Nakobe Dean in the middle, I hate to say this, he won't finish this season.
Okay. We'll see.
What do you think?
And listen.
I'm going to know from a linebacker perspective.
Listen.
I think because just what you said, body structure, body type. You keep him in the middle, he's going to get freight trained eventually.
They drafted him to be an inside backer because that's what he was at Georgia, won a national championship, okay? They want him to be the starting linebacker in this defense.
Yes.
He's been injured the last 2 years, and if history proves anything right, history tells me that he ain't going to last. Because when he and there's 4-man front, and the Eagles can get away, if the Eagles can play good run defense, in their 4-man front, they wouldn't have to get in the 5-man front so much. Okay, but because they haven't been able to be efficient against the run the last 3 years. Guess what? They got to go to 5-man front.
Right.
Now that's an advantage for him. But when they go to their 4-man front, well, guess what? He's going to have to come downhill and put some pads on some guys that weigh 100 pounds more than he do. That ain't a good recipe.
I was going to say, what's going to happen?
That ain't a good recipe.
He's going to be taken off on the cart.
I do want to ask about one more injury. Sorry to cut you off, Gunnar. I want to ask one more injury before we hit the break. You're also talking about what's going to happen right now with Isaiah Rodgers, who's going to be the starting outside corner next to Darius Slay, and who's going to be in the middle, whether it's Quentin Mitchell and move Quentin Mitchell to the outside. If you're calling the shot, Seth, who will be the outside corner opposite Darius Slay? Do you keep Quentin in the middle, bounce him out? Keely Ringo goes outside. What would you do?
I like the plan of what they had. It's unfortunate that Isaiah Rodgers, hurt his hand. Understandably, I understand why they, had put him down for this week. That's a smart thing to do. Let him heal, because you can't play cornerback if you can't use your hands. You got to be able to jam, and you got to be able to, swat balls, and you got a quarterback throwing the ball 60 miles an hour, and you put your hand in there, and your hand's already messed up. Guess what? It's going to be twice as messed up or broke.
That's right.
So it's the smart move. But I think that they realize that their top 3 guys right now are Darius Slay on one side, Isaiah Rodgers on the other, and Quentin Mitchell in the middle. And we won't know what Cooper DeJean can be because he's missed so much camp time.
Do you assume tonight, though, Gunnar, do you think they go with Keely Ringo on the outside?
I don't know. It's been back and forth. I think you drafted this kid in the first round for a reason. Vic Fangio endorsed this. This was their first pick of the draft in 2024. Your defensive coordinator identified and endorsed that this was the best kid available on the board for what we need. You know what I want to do with him? Same thing Kansas City did a couple of years ago. Play these rookies. Let them learn on the field, not on the bench. Let him play opposite Darius Slay. If he is that talented, every cornerback in the National Football League gets burned, okay? I don't care who you are. Hall of Famers get burned. Put him out there, let him learn. Look at what happened in that Kansas City defense a couple of years ago. Those kids grew up in a hurry. They were rock solid by December. Let that man learn on-the-job training. That's what I want to see. You drafted him first. I want to see in live game action why you drafted him first.
All right, it's been a very busy offseason, obviously, for Howie Roseman. We'll talk about the best acquisitions, who to expect the most from, and also the coordinator positions, who to expect the most from out of those 2 spots as well. And we'll give you our predictions as well for Eagles and Packers when we return at Parx Casino here in Ben Salem with the betPARX pregame show brought to you by Pond Lehocky.
Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
Welcome back to Parx Casino here in Bensalem. This is the pregame show. Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta with you from Parx Casino. We do want to thank our friends at Verizon Wireless, of course, and also want to make sure that we thank our friends at Pond Lehocky as well. The Eagles had a fury of moves in this offseason to try to come back and make sure that what happened at the end of last year does not happen ever again. So in reference to that, you look at Saquon Barkley, you look at Bryce Huff, you look at Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore. Who do you think, Seth, will have the biggest impact on this Eagles season to them being a successful football team?
From a coaching standpoint?
Coaching, playing, who will be the biggest impact?
It has to be Jalen Hurts at the end of the day. I love the fact that the Eagles went and got Kellen Moore, because I really believe he's not only going to bring a little more balance to the offense. One of the reasons why I think he got ran out of Dallas, after Dak Prescott had probably his best year, he gets run out of Dallas. Yeah. Excuse me. And a lot of the reasoning for that and for the Cowboys' lack of success is them not running the football. So I think he kind of learned some things from that. The next piece is the Eagles are notorious. If you went and you looked at their passing chart, the areas of the football field where they like to throw the ball is primarily, from the hash marks out. So no one counted on them or expected for them to attack the middle of the field. That's going to change, because if you remember Kellen Moore in Dallas, the thing he would do is he took some very average tight ends and he made a lot of plays in the middle of the field with those tight ends. I believe that Dallas Goedert is a superstar in waiting, and he's waited long enough, in my opinion. And I think that Kellen Moore is going to open things up for him in the middle, and he's going to have a Pro Bowl, a heck of a year, because he's just too good to be used the way that they used him. And listen, the wide receivers are going to have to acquiesce some of those targets. That's just a fact. They got too many weapons. If you're talking about giving Saquon D. Gunn balls out of the backfield, and I'm talking about giving Dallas Goedert 5 to 6, targets a game, that means that those guys on the outside are going to have to settle for a little less. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if they're really about winning, then they'll be willing to take a few less targets across the board. But in my opinion, Jalen Hurts has got to be the reason why. He's got to have the greatest impact on this football team this year.
Well, I do agree with that. And when I look at Jalen Hurts, I look at this again as a no-excuse season. You got the offensive coordinator. You have the weapons. You have the best running back you've ever had in Saquon Barkley. And, yeah, hopefully you do have a healthy Dallas Goedert. And your third receiver is a guy who was a first-round pick a couple of years ago, John Dotson.
Can I chime in? Can I chime in with the no excuse? I'm kind of tired of hearing that, okay? Because
it's in reference to, right?
No, I do. But it's like every quarterback has to have weapons to be successful, and every successful quarterback has weapons, okay? At the end of the day, let's go back and look at Jalen Hurts. What was Jalen Hurts' demise last year, okay? This is going to shock some people, and I wish I could have created the visual so that we could put it up on the screen so people could see it as I explain this, okay? Jalen Hurts had more passing yards last year than he did in 22 when he was runner-up for the
MVP.
For the MVP, okay? He had one more touchdown last year than he did the year that he was runner-up for the MVP, okay? He had more rushing touchdowns last year than he had when he was runner-up for the MVP by 5, okay? You want to know what undid Jalen Hurts last year? Turnovers, okay? Jalen Hurts had 15 interceptions last year, and he lost 6 fumbles last year. If you go back the previous 2 years, he had 15 interceptions in the last and 20 and 21 combined. He had 6 fumbles and 22, and guess what? He only lost one of them. Okay? So when you turn the ball over 21 times in a season and your defense, couldn't stop, a little kid pushing the truck, then guess what? You're not going to have success. You cannot turn the ball over as much as he turned it over. To me, that's fixable. It's fixable in my opinion, okay? With a better called offense and more weapons around him, now he doesn't have to do everything, okay? So people need to stop with that narrative, no excuses. Well, guess what? If you want to look at his production didn't go down last year. His turnovers went up. And if he can fix that, everybody needs to be quiet.
I agree with that. Biggest impact. What do you think is the biggest change for the best for the Eagles in the upcoming season, Gunner?
I can't disagree with what Seth said about Jalen Hurts, but I'm going to take it a little bit higher. Nick Sirianni. I think nobody's on the hot seat more so than Nick Sirianni this season. You have to prove the doubters wrong in terms of, yes, I can't exist with my $250 million quarterback. You have to be able to show people, yes, I'm comfortable with a guy named Kellen Moore coming in here and revamping, retooling, and improving my style of offense. I think that if Nick can make all these things happen, we'll see Nick back in 2025. See, the way I see it is this. Nick Sirianni needs Jalen Hurts more so than Jalen Hurts needs Nick Sirianni. Because at the end of the day, if this thing doesn't work, you're not getting rid of a $250 million quarterback. He will be back even if he has a mediocre season, Jalen Hurts will be back in 2025. Who's the scapegoat when things go bad, Seth? Head coach. He'll be the first one, and they have 2 candidates already in-house in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore in terms of who might replace him in 2025.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a minute.
Yes.
Let's say that the offense blows up.
Yep.
Now you have the problem that, and this is another, visual that, moving forward, I'll have these visuals. So when I make these points, we're able to throw them up on the board so people can see it.
Okay.
I've got this visual of Jalen Hurts having a different offensive coordinator damn near every year.
Yes.
Ever since he was a freshman in college.
Yeah.
That's a lot of offensive coordinators.
Yes, indeed.
Okay? So if Nick Sirianni continues on as the head coach and they have a successful 2024-25 campaign, that Kellen Moore is going to be one of the hottest commodities at offensive as a head coach in the National Football League. What do the Eagles do then? Because it's a disservice to Jalen Hurts if Kellen Moore isn't the offensive coordinator on this football team next year.
What does success breed? Elevation. If he's successful, he's going to get his shot. Kellen Moore's never been a head coach in the National Football League. And that surprises me in a lot of ways that he's never been a head coach when he's considered one of the more innovative offensive minds in the game today. Maybe it's his time, Seth. If this offense with this personnel, nobody has more quality weapons at their disposal in 2024 than Jalen Hurts.
I agree.
Okay? If this offense accidentally should score a minimum 28 points a game. In today's brand of football.
28 points a game.
I
agree with you.
If they stay healthy.
I'm surprised you're shortchanging them. You're not going to 30.
No, I don't want to go to 30 yet. I may change my mind about 4 games into the season.
Gotcha.
Right now, they should accidentally score 28 points a game. Mm-hmm. That's a success ratio for an offensive coordinator. Right. So what's going to happen? If they maintain that status quo, Kellen Moore is going to be at the forefront of somebody's door next year for a head coaching job.
So then what?
And you're right, Seth. It's not fair to Jalen, but that's progress in the National Football League as we know it.
And you look at it like this, though. When you have a coordinator like that just goes, Nick Sirianni stays and you train the next guy? Or does that next guy – I mean, look, we're getting way ahead of ourselves when we talk about what can happen next year. But I don't believe ever one person should be bigger than the team. So even if you thought Nick Sirianni shouldn't have returned last year, I don't want to root for the Eagles to be terrible just so that I'm right about Nick Sirianni and you bring Kellen Moore as the head coach,
Right.
But as far as some other guys on this squad, and you talk about the no excuses and all that other stuff, I look at Saquon Barkley as a guy that will, along with Kellen Moore, change a lot of the attitude. You talk about cutting down on those 15 interceptions last year, Seth. I think one of the things that I've heard a lot from Jalen Hurts in the offseason is he did what he was coached to do. So when you think about Nick Sirianni constantly telling him, hey, throw the ball downfield, don't be afraid to get points and all that stuff, and the game that always jumps to my mind is Seattle, 8:15 to go in the fourth quarter. You're up for 4 points, and you're bombing it down the field to Quez Watkins for an interception when you had, I believe it was Kenny Gainwell at the line of scrimmage. Saquon Barkley is one hell of a check down option. If you're talking about impact, obviously Kellen Moore coordinating there, obviously look at Vic Fangio, but guy on the field as the check down for Jalen Hurts to put the ball in Saquon Barkley's hand, I think that's the guy that's going to have a huge impact offensively and open up so many other things for his quarterback.
Listen, before anything, first and foremost, Saquon Barkley is a running back. And he's going to have the luxury, D-Gun, of playing behind the best offensive line that he's seen in his entire NFL career. Okay? And the Eagles, in my opinion, have to utilize that. I get it that they want to be a passing team, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also think at the end of the day, and I'm not asking, everybody thinks when I talk about the run game that the Eagles should be balanced 50-50, okay? That's just not realistic in today's NFL when you're going to line up 3 wide receivers, in formation. You're going to go 11 personnel, 70-75% of the time. It's not realistic, okay? I'm not even saying that they should be 60-40 pass to run, but they got to be at a minimum 35-65, okay? And if they do that, Saquon Barkley is going to have 1,200, 1,300 yards this season, and he's going to have another 500-600 yards, I should say 1,200 to 1,300 yards rushing this year, and another 500 to 600 yards in receiving out of the backfield. Now you've maximized him, and you've given Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, the best opportunity to win, because if he's eating like that and you got Dallas Goedert, beating up the middle of the field, that's just going to open up things on the outside and allow you to get those explosive plays that you so covet.
If Saquon Barkley does not touch the ball 25 times a game, it's a crime. And I'm not talking about running the football. I'm talking about putting the ball in his hand, swing pass, screens, whatever the case may be. Minimum 25 times a game. If you keep this man healthy, he is going to be electric in his offense. I don't want to sit here after a game saying, why is Saquon only get the ball 6 times, 8 times, 12 times? That man is built for the long haul. Give that man the ball 25 times a game and let him wear a defense down.
All right, we have reached the point of the pregame show that they've all been waiting for. Our official predictions for the Eagles season opener. I'll take this one, and then Gunnar, I think we should have Mr. International. He should go last, right? Should go last for the prediction. That makes most sense, right?
All right?
Yeah, I think that.
Do that.
I think we should. Yeah. Philadelphia Eagles win this football game tonight by a score of 27-24. They're going to do something tonight that I felt like they didn't do nearly enough at the end of last year. And you know what that thing was? That thing was control a football game. The Eagles last year only won 2 games by 10 or more points. Compare that to their Super Bowl season. 6 games they won by 10 or more points. That shows you're controlling a game. I think the Eagles control the first half of play. I think the Green Bay Packers make adjustments, start to come back a little bit in that second half. But all in all, when it's all said and done, the Eagles, they take Brazil. And they parade maybe some green down there, down that Corinthian Stadium, 27-24. Gunnar, what say you?
It's going to be interesting because this Packers team caught fire at the tail end of last season. They went down to Dallas and embarrassed Dallas, a place Dallas hadn't lost in 2 years at home. They had San Francisco on the ropes. It should have been San Francisco minus 1 mistake near the end of the game. They're still one of the youngest teams in the National Football League. I don't know if their defense, with a new coordinator who likes to blitz, can match up well with this Eagles offense. So with that said, 28-27 Eagles.
28-27, a nail-biter.
28-27 Eagles.
All right, we go from Mr. Wisconsin to Mr. International.
I am cautiously optimistic about this football team because anytime that you have a collapse the way the Eagles had over the last 6-7 weeks of the season, you got to be concerned about, the reverberations of that coming into this year. And even though they've got a bunch of guys, new guys, faces, new coordinators and whatnot, the scars are still prevalent, in my opinion. But that being said, when I look at this team on paper, there's just no way offensively that they're not a problem for everybody in the National Football League. I don't care who your defense is.
Right.
You got 2 all-pros at wide receiver on the outside. You got a guy who's going to be in the slot that's motivated because, his former team that just drafted him in the first round 2 years ago pulled the plug on him. Then you got, Dallas Goedert, who's chomping at the bit, probably realizing he's going to play a more prominent role. You got Saquon Barkley just trying to reestablish himself after some injuries in New York. And then you got Jalen Hurts, who in my opinion is one of the guys who, when he has an off year, like he had in 21, he came back in an explosive way in 22. I expect for Jalen Hurts to come back in an explosive way in 24 with a new offense. And the offensive line is, missing a legend, but at the end of the day, they're going to be one of the biggest and best offensive lines, in my opinion, in the National Football League. Some road graders, to take a quote from Doug Peterson. And they're going to be so prominent, they're going to give the defense a chance to catch up. Now, Green Bay's got some players. They got a quarterback that everybody a couple of years ago, D-Gun, thought that, they made a decision.
That's right.
They also, got 3 wide receivers that can take it to the house from anywhere on the field every single time they touch it. So the defense is going to be tested. But I got enough faith in what Jalen Hurts and that offense will do, and the fact that Vic Fangio will make the adjustments along the way.
Right.
It's going to be a tight one. I like the Eagles winning this game 28-25 on the last second Jake Elliott field goal.
Hey, real quick. I know we got to go. Confirmation real quick. If the signal holds up, Brandon Graham's going to join us on the postgame show.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here from Parx Casino in Bensalem for the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Back with you guys after the game.
Hey, what was that, man?